Greetings, everyone. My name is Richard Burke, Executive Director of Western Liberty Network, and I want to welcome you to this August 27th edition of our weekly training session. And today's session is going to be on fundraising. Before I begin with that, I'd like to welcome our people here. And for those of you who will be watching later on the recording, I'd like to welcome you as well. I'm going to begin with a couple of preliminaries. I'm going to share the screen right here. Okay, what you see on the screen right now is the Western Liberty Network website. And what you see at the top here is always what we're doing now. And as you see advertised here is our current training session that we're doing right now. Scroll down and you can see other things that we have done with some resources along the side, recordings of training sessions that we have done, and PowerPoints and that sort of thing. Scroll down, you've got some additional speeches. We're going to be adding a section here soon for people to sign up for our next annual conference. That's going to be on February 3rd and 4th at the Embassy Suites Airport. That's going to be very exciting, 20 breakout sessions, 3 assemblies, a nice lunch. And it looks like we're going to be doing a session at the Hilton Hotel in Vancouver with FreedomWorks on October 1st. So there'll be more things to look for on this particular section of the website. If you go to the training website, you can see all of the different kinds of trainings we provide. We discussed that here. A series of training documents. If you want to take a look at any of these subject matters, you can click on it and get a PDF of that particular training session, the training document. These training documents are really useful. They're designed to be provided with a live training session, but they're useful by themselves. If you go down to the bottom of the section here, you can download a PDF file containing all of the above training documents. So if you'd like several of them or all of them, you don't have to make a bunch of separate downloads. You can download all of them with one click. Go down a little further and you see our videos. This video, or this training session that we're recording now, will be posted here in just a couple of hours after we're done with the session. But you've got almost 2 years worth of Saturday sessions here on different topics. I provide a number of the training sessions, but guest trainers provide them too. And of course, I'm going to stop sharing. Oh wait, one other thing to show you. If you like what we're doing, you can go to Support WLN, where you can make via PayPal a one-time or a monthly contribution. If you like what you see through Western Liberty Network, you can become a supporter, and all contributions to Western Liberty Network are fully tax deductible. So with that, I'm going to stop the share and come back here. Last proviso I need to provide is that Western Liberty Network is a 501c3 organization. We do not oppose or endorse any partisan candidate or political party. We provide training to limited government grassroots activists. They're free to use the training as they like. We do support limited government activities though, and if there are any partisan statements made by anyone on this call, those statements are entirely their responsibility and do not necessarily reflect the view of Western Liberty Network. Now, as far as the people who are here, Don, Jay-Z, Janet, Michelle, and James Harbour is just coming in. Excuse me. There he is. James Harbour is just coming in. And so if you have any questions during the session today, or if you have comments or would like to interject, please do so. Just unmute yourself and then say whatever it is you want to say, ask your question, and when you're finished, remute yourself so we can make sure we don't have acoustic feedback or any of those audio issues. So with that, we're going to start today's training on fundraising. I'm guessing that a couple of you at least are candidates, and some of you might be working in other areas where you want to raise money. I'm going to cover 2 things during this session: how to do individual fundraising, but also how to do a fundraising coffee. Those are sometimes very lucrative fundraising events. And we'll start first of all with individual fundraising through phone calls or personal meetings. The first thing you're going to want to do when starting on a fundraising plan is, first of all, set your goal. And if you know what the money is going to be spent for, make that clear. Write that down. Come up with a written fundraising plan with the amount of money that you want to raise and what you're going to spend it for. And what I would do is set 3 levels. Sort of a minimum level that you will minimally accept as being successful, something that's a little bit better than that, and then a stretch in case you find someone who wants to donate a lot of money. In Oregon and several other states, there are no limits on how much a person can donate. So if you manage to light up a donor and really inspire them with your project or your campaign, sometimes you'd be surprised at what you're able to bring in. Also, if you have an idea of what you're going to spend the money on, if you have a budget that you're trying to reach to. For example, if in your campaign you want to do lawn signs, if you want to do direct mail, if you want to do digital advertising, have that in a budget, because you're going to do much better if you know what you're going to spend the money on and your donors know what they're going to pay for, than if you just say, I'm running in a campaign, I'm doing a project, and I need your money. And that's very important as well. And that leads me to the next point. Consider your value proposition for the donors. If you're running a project or a campaign, obviously you know what you need the money for. I need the money to run my campaign and get elected. I need the money to, do this or that or the other thing. That is motivating to you. Sometimes it's motivating to the donors, but often it's not motivating to the donors. Think about what the donors want to see. If, for example, you're running in a strong conservative district, victory is what they want to see, and they want to see the advancement of limited government policies, and that's going to be part of your value proposition. Elect me to office, and I will advance the things you care about, but you don't have the time to do yourself. I'm putting the time in, and I'm going to advance these things. But if you're running in a very competitive race, or if you're running in a race where the odds are against you, why should people give you money? Have a value proposition ready for them. There might be people that say, gosh, I'd love to support you, but I just don't think you have a shot, and I want to put my money where it will be most effective. What do you say to those people? In those cases, what I would have are a series of secondary goals. For example, you might say, of course, the primary objective of this campaign is to win the election. But we have secondary goals, things that will survive the election, no matter what the outcome are. For example, we're going to build a base of volunteers that we can use on other campaigns, ballot measure campaigns, and citizen lobbying. If you're going to build a cadre of volunteer supporters and grassroots supporters, that's something that will be of value that you can mobilize after your election or after you lose the campaign, if that's what happens. You want to build a cadre of donors that will support a variety of projects, maybe ballot measures, maybe campaigns, maybe information campaigns. It could be anything. I'm going to establish media contacts. I'm going to build the local party organization, if that's what you want to do. Donna Kreitzberg is coming in. But the idea is there are a variety of secondary goals that you can achieve that will be of value even if you lose your race. So if somebody tells you, I'd love to contribute to you, but I don't think you have a chance to win, you'll be able to come back to them and say, well, I disagree, I'm running to win this election, but even if you're right, my campaign is worth investing in because we will develop these additional assets that we can use over and over again after the campaign. And my campaign will be the vehicle used to develop those assets. More donors, more volunteers, more media contacts, experience for people who might work on other campaigns, a lot of those things. And all of that goes into the idea of a written campaign plan. If you're running a campaign, you should have a written campaign plan. We have a training document on the Western Liberty Network website, on the training tab, on what the components of a written campaign plan are. A written campaign plan is to a campaign what a business plan is to a business. And if you go into a bank wanting to start a new business and you don't have a business plan, they're going to laugh you out of the building. But if you have a good business plan, you've got a much better chance of getting investment. If your campaign has a written campaign plan, it doesn't have to be complex, but if you have a written campaign plan and it includes secondary goals as well as the primary goal of winning the election, and you go to donors, particularly large donors, and say, we have a campaign plan, and this is what we want to do, and this is how we plan to do it. Particularly with larger donors, where you might have a personal meeting or a personal phone call. It might be what turns no donation into $100 donation, or it might turn what was a $100 donation into a $1,000 donation. Make sure that you're providing value, and that it's value from their perspective, not your perspective. Naturally, from your perspective, you want to win the election. From their perspective, if they think you can win the election, you might have a match. But if they aren't sure if you can win the election or think you can't win the election, you can still show value from their perspective by pushing the secondary goals. So this is all very important to fundraising. If a charity like Muscular Dystrophy or the Shriners Hospital or any of those other places want to get money from you, they need to show some value they provide that is not just a value to them, but a value to you. And raising money for a political campaign is no different. So once you have done that, you know what your goals are, your secondary goals, and you have your value proposition, make a list of everyone you can call. There are a lot of ways to build this list, and you can ask for help. You can get your volunteers to build a list for you. This is a calling list, people you will call or ask for private meetings for donations. And ask for private meetings for large donations, and generally if they accept a meeting, you're not going to walk away with nothing. But anyway, have your volunteers and you yourself come up with a plan made up of everybody you know, family members, people you work with, friends, neighbors that you have a good relationship with, people you do business with, people that you know are politically active, people who support other campaigns. You can also go on to past contribution and expenditure reports that are publicly available on the Secretary of State website. Find a high-profile candidate with views similar to your own and take a look at their contribution and expenditure reports, and you will see the names of people and organizations who have given them money. They don't provide phone numbers, but a lot of times you or a volunteer can get the phone numbers. But the idea is to build a call list and make phone calls every day that you can. So there are a couple of things to think about on that. Plan your time. Make sure that you get a calendar out, and having a campaign calendar is another important thing to do, and something else we have a training document for. And put down when you're going to spend time raising money. When are you going to make phone calls? What times are you going to carve out for private meetings if you get people to agree to a private meeting? If you have it on a calendar, like an appointment, you're more likely to do it. If you just keep it in your head, you're unlikely to actually ever get around to it because you're going to be busy with other things, and it'll slip and it'll slide and it won't get done. So make an appointment. When are you going to make phone calls? Some people like to ask other people to make phone calls for them, to hire a fundraiser. Sometimes this is appropriate if there's just too much grass for you to cover, too many people to call. That's often not a problem. But I will tell you that nobody is capable of raising money like the candidate can. If the candidate calls the donor, himself or herself, it's going to be much more effective than if anyone else does it. And it's going to make the difference between no donation and a small donation, or a small donation and a large donation. So if you're a candidate, you need to make the calls. If you are a campaign manager, you need to make sure that your candidate makes the calls. Make sure that you know when you're going to make the calls. Put it down on the calendar, and you should be making phone calls almost every day. Rehearse what you will say. It doesn't have to be complicated or fancy, and there are no real tricks, and it's going to depend upon who you're talking to. You might say, hello, Bob, this is Rich. I'm running for Secretary of State. I know you and I share a lot of views on different items. And I'm really looking for support. I'm calling for money. And I hope that if you think that I'm promoting your values, you'll be willing to make a contribution. It might be as simple as that. If you get into a conversation, they might want to know what the value is. But notice I said, if your values are aligned with my values and I'm doing the politics you don't have the time to do, would you be willing to make a contribution? You notice how I'm putting that in terms of what is valuable to them, not just I need money to do this. Instead, always put it in terms of the other person, what they hold important, and how donating to your campaign will advance what is important to them. In Oregon, we have a political tax credit. If you make less than, I think it's $150,000, you can offer a $50 political tax credit to donors that they can recover the donation of up to $50 or $100 for a joint filing when they file their taxes next year. That's a nice tool. And that's something that you can make a part of what you're going to say. But the point is, rehearse what you're going to say. You might want to come up with different approaches for like large donors, people you know well, people you don't know as well, those kind of things. And rehearse what you're going to say a little bit. And don't be too strident or rigid in your approach, because people are going to interact and you're going to have to adapt. If a donor says, I don't know, there's a lot of people are asking for my money this year, and I'm not sure that, donating to you is the best place to put it. Just tell them, I understand that. A lot of people got their hand out right now, but I'm doing things that are not only going to get me elected to the office I'm running for, but I'm also going to build the organization. I'm going to, build grassroots capacity that'll be useful for other campaigns down the line. So you're not just investing in my campaign this year, you're also investing in political success for the future. Those kind of things to show value to what you're donating in. And if you're running a long shot campaign, that's particularly important. Another item is prepare for leaving voicemails. You're going to get voicemail much more often than you get a live person. If you know this person well, I recommend that you not leave a voicemail or just leave a simple one. Hi, this is Rich. Give me a call. I'm calling about my campaign. My number is, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. Or you might just, if you know them well, call them back in hopes of getting them actually on the phone. But for a lot of people you don't know as well, you're going to have a lot of voicemails, and make sure you know what you're going to say, whatever it is. Hi, my name is Richard Burke. I know you through such and such, and I'm calling because I'm running for the state legislature, and I'm looking for support. I think my goals and your goals align. I'll be calling you back to try and see how I can advance your views we share through running this campaign and getting elected to office, or call me at 503 blank 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 blank, whatever it is. But the idea is prepare to leave voicemails, have a message ready to go when voicemails come. Next, schedule your call time. We talked about that a little bit already. Make sure you make appointments with yourself to have phone calls. Another thing is to get a phone call buddy. If you have someone that's helping you on your campaign, or you've got a friend or a volunteer, have them be with you while you make these calls. This person can take notes while you're talking. This person can discuss and be a sounding board in between phone calls, give you ideas of adjustments, these kind of things. And sometimes it's just more fun to call with someone than sitting down by yourself. Also, when you've got someone sitting next to you, it's a great motivating force. So having a call buddy is really good as well. So these are some of the things that you can do when you're making phone calls. Don't be shy, okay? People on the left and liberals, in my view, have a much easier time doing this than conservatives do, because it's part of the liberal ideology that one person's need constitutes a claim on what another person has. So lefties who hold these views have no problem with saying, I need your money, call me, I'm running for office and I need it. I need it to win. Conservatives have a harder time with that. We think that people should lift themselves by their own bootstraps, work their own way through. and they should, you know, that charity isn't always the best thing. And so we hate asking people for money. So what I tell conservatives who are shy about this is to um, do what capitalists do. Do not ask for money on the basis that you need it. Instead, ask for money as an exchange of value, that you're asking for a value, a contribution, in exchange for a value that you're providing. No, I'm not asking that you donate money because I need it. I'm asking that you donate money because I am advancing your politics that you don't have time to do. You're busy with your family, friends, career. I am too, but I've made time to run for office, fight in the trenches, and if elected, serve. So I can advance the things that you believe in. And that's the value I'm providing for you in exchange for your contribution. So if you're offering a value for value, there's no embarrassment with that. It's the same as saying, I've got this computer I'd like to sell. Would you like to buy it? You're offering a value in exchange for another value. The person might say, yes, I could use a new computer, or no, I don't need a computer. But whether they say yes or no, there's no humiliation there. There's no, you know, supplicant. Nobody's behaving as a supplicant. You're offering a proposal and they can say yes or no. Think about your campaign the same way. You are offering value. You are advancing an ideology that you share with a prospective donor. And you're going to put your elbow grease in, you're going to put your time in. And that's the value you offer. In exchange, you ask them for a campaign contribution to make it easy to do it. And another thing too, remember, it's not an imposition. It is an attempt to ask somebody to, you know, exercise political power through contributions. Political contributions are regarded as speech by the US Supreme Court. And so you are offering them an opportunity to express themselves politically through your campaign by means of a contribution. They can say yes, they can say no, but you're offering them an opportunity. Just like asking them to vote is an opportunity, it's not an intrusion, you're offering them a chance to exercise their franchise and exercise some political power. You're doing the same thing when you're asking somebody to make a contribution to your campaign, particularly if your campaign reflects the values of the prospective donor. So that's an important to remember. Now, before I go on, I'd like to ask if anyone out there has any questions, or if they've tried to raise money and have any experiences they would like to share. We got a few more people on now. We've got Jeannie, we've got Janet, Michelle, Donna, Jim, Jay-Z, Don, Janet, and Michelle. Pretty good crowd. So does anyone have anything they'd like to add, or are there any questions? Okay. If not, we will go on. And this is about a candidate coffee. This is a great way to raise money. It's a great way to raise a lot of money fast. But you need a few things to pull it off. And one thing you need to pull it off is somebody who is well-to-do. It doesn't have to be, you know, a multi-trillionaire, but somebody who's financially comfortable, who is a supporter of yours, who is willing to host a coffee in their home. Ask them if they'd be willing to do that. And find out some times. And another thing you want from these people are their network of people. Most of the time, people who are financially well-to-do know other people who are financially well-to-do. And they might know people, and you might know other people. And so what you're going to do is organize a time and a date when you will have a coffee. And literally just have coffee, tea. If there are people who are in the LDS church, have some herbal tea or fruit drinks, something like that. If you want to, you can have wine or beer, and have some, you know, light, you know, snacks, pastries or dessert or something like that. Something that's very light. And you're going to want these people to invite the people in their personal networks, and they need to know it is a fundraiser. This is not a meet and greet, although you will meet and you will greet, but have them know that it is a fundraiser, that if they come, they will be asked to write a check. I've seen people try to run coffees without telling those who were invited. That's a fundraiser. And the people who are invited show up. They're not expecting to be asked for money. They are asked for money, and they feel like they've been sandbagged when the request finally comes. And people leave with an uneasy feeling about the candidate. And they usually don't donate money, or if they do, it's not that much. If people don't want to donate money, they will respectfully refuse the invitation. The invitation should come from the host. If it's somebody that the host knows, the host should invite them. The candidate, if there are other people who are not in the host's network who would be good, then the candidate should ask those people to come for the coffee. And there are a couple things you want to do. First of all, let's say you have the coffee at, say, 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Have everything there, have everything ready for the coffee, but the candidate doesn't show up right away. The candidate's not there at 7 o'clock. The candidate has a couple of volunteers there. Take names and numbers, have people sign up for the email address, let people get a glass of wine or a hot tea or whatever it is they want, have them chat a little bit, and then the candidate should show up at 7:15 or something like that. And the candidate should take a few minutes and meet everyone, shake everyone's hand, do a few things like that. But afterwards, maybe depending on how it goes, it could be 10 minutes, could be a half hour. Depending on how it goes, the host will welcome the candidate. They'll say, okay, everyone, we're going to hear from the candidate. And the host, it doesn't have to be the host. It can be a member of the campaign. But ideally, it's the host. The host will say, hi, I've asked you all here to support Joe Blow. Joe Blow is a candidate running for state legislator District X. And he's got some things he wants to say. I think he is great. We all share the same basic values. And he's a great proponent of those values. So without further ado, here's Joe Blow. Everyone politely applauds. And Joe Blow goes up there and you do your stump speech. Look people in the eye. And you just do your basic stump speech. And the candidate says, I want to appreciate, closes by saying something like, I want to appreciate you all being here. If you agree with what I'm doing, I really hope that you'll find a way to provide substantial support to my campaign. Your money will be extremely well spent. You'll have access to a tax credit, whatever it is, and then you turn it back over to the host. I got a question. Can you use the same rules for a coffee fundraiser at a barbecue fundraiser? The answer is yes. The idea is to get people at the host's home, people who the host knows, people who have money and are capable of donating, and the coffee provides a structure. If it's a barbecue, that's great. I used to know a guy in Oregon City who had a wood brick outdoor pizza oven, and he would do pizza fundraising events. And those were a lot of fun. So yeah, a coffee is sort of a catch-all, which includes things like barbecue. But that's a very good question, Michelle. Thank you. So after the candidate has made their speech, then the host, or if the host is uncomfortable, a member of the campaign will stand up and say, okay, I want to thank you very much for your attention, and it's great that we heard from the candidate. Now comes the time when we pull out our checkbooks and we make our pledges. And so I would like to, our goal tonight, and it's always important to have a goal. Our goal tonight is to raise $5,000 or $10,000, and that's what we're going to be going for. And normally the host will make an initial contribution. It's good if you can seed the crowd with a couple of people in advance who are willing to make contributions and have checks in hand. And so the host, it's important that the host contribute something. So if the host says, I'll kick this off with $500, then nobody's first. Nobody ever wants to be first. And it's better if you have a second person, a second ringer in there. Maybe you arranged it, maybe the host arranged it. Yeah, I'll match that. Who will match these $500 donations? Who will do a 2-for-1? Who will do a matching fund where you will match contributions up to a certain amount? And sometimes you can have that made in advance. You can have somebody in advance who says, I will match contributions up to $5,000 that are made by people attending this coffee. And so if you have that in hand in advance, you can say, this person over here has agreed to match your contributions dollar for dollar to a maximum of $5,000. So your dollar is actually $2. Who would like to make a contribution? It's good if the candidate doesn't do these asks, because you don't want, the candidate to be like Elmer Gantry, or to be a hawker. At the end of the candidate's presentation, the candidate says, I'm working very hard, I'm out there, I need money to project my message, and in exchange, I will promote the values that you care about. It's good to make that kind of a very general ask, not a specific ask. And that kind of provides a segue into the host or a member of the campaign to do the specific ask. Okay, our goal tonight is $5,000. And so who would like to start us off? You can share aspects of your campaign budget. Let people know where the money is going to go to. We need to raise $1,000 for digital ads. We need to raise $2,000 for direct mail, or whatever it is. Say, this is what you're paying for. We've got somebody here to match your funds. Who will start us off? And the host should always start off with a check. And there should be a second person at least to start them off. If you've got a person, maybe the host, maybe the second person, maybe a third person who's willing to match funds, you can kick that in, after the first couple of donations are made. And then people will raise their hands. If they come knowing they're going to be asked for money and they actually show up and the candidate makes a good presentation, they'll donate something. They will donate something. And so you just keep going and you pull in whatever you can pull in. And then, of course, after the coffee is over, after the fundraising is finished, say, okay, that's our program for tonight. Let's mix, have another dessert. Let's have some coffee. The candidate's going to stick around. Maybe you've got some individual questions. And this is an opportunity for the candidate to talk to people. And if they weren't sure about making a contribution, or they didn't make a contribution, or even if they did make a contribution, the candidate can talk to them about having a private coffee with them if it looks like they might be a prospect for an even larger donation. And the candidate can talk to them, listen to them. That's another thing I haven't mentioned much of, but it's important. It's important to listen to the people and let them know that you care about their opinions. Whether you agree with them or not, it's important that you care about hearing them. And don't lie. Don't say you believe in something you don't, but do listen to them and make people feel that their opinions are valued, even if you don't agree with it. And that's part of the democratic process. But anyway, you can build new relationships at these events, and these relationships will result in financial support for the things you do. Sometimes it results in partnerships and friendships. But anyway, these are effective ways to raise money. Are there any questions? Okay, that's my training for today. If there are no questions or comments, we can call it a day. I would like to ask this: do you think this training session has been of value?
Yes.
Yep, Donna says yes. Good.
I really liked it. Very good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's when I don't get a lot of questions, it's okay, but I always want to make sure that I'm not wasting people's time and that it's the information is of value to people. But I'm getting good feedback.
You're gonna have this up later on?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir. I'm going to download this when the training is concluded, and then I'll have it posted within a couple of hours.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And as always, I'll do a fundraising pitch myself. Will this be in written form also? I do have some documents. Send me the email through the chat, and I'll send you some documents that I have. I don't have a Western Liberty Network training document. I'm using other documents from other organizations. We are going to develop a WLN. Training document on this, but I'll send you what I have. And so it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks before we have our next one. We have Gathering of the Eagles out of Turner, Oregon, and then it looks like we may be out of town doing live training the following Saturday. But anyway, keep a look on the westernlibertynetwork.org website for future training sessions. And I wish you all well. God bless, and thank you for participating.